Hi. Almost played that song again.
It's though.
Give me just a second. Perfect. I just
Quick
testing, testing,
testing.
testing. Welcome to a scary episode. So scary.
B. Spoopy
So
spoopy.
scary. Spooky, scary skeletons.
Oop.
I should I should say first of all, because we are doing horror in media today, in like video games, movies, all of that, or books, even that's what you want to talk about. I I have a love hate relationship with horror. Like I really have a love hate relationship with horror. So this is going to be very interesting because I love some stories, like the mystery behind stories. However, I hate being scared. It's a complicated relationship.
Just set your status to complicated, or your relationship status to complicated.
Oh yeah, no, it's heckin' complicated. Like it's heckin' complicated. there is I know for a fact there's like I just well, since we're gonna jump into it, I have been recently watching a bunch of old cheesy horror, right? Like the really bad horror from like the 70s or 80s or whatever.
Ooh.
And I'm okay watching bad horror. Like I like bad horror. If you consider that bad horror. Right now it's just, comedy in this day and
Yeah.
age. But I love watching stuff like that. However, I can't watch certain things by myself or with my husband. I'd have to have a group because then we can all, make fun of it or whatever. And I also can't watch it in theaters. Horror games, I have to be drunk for. I'm just putting that out there just so you know what
She
we're going to be
wasn't
talking
joking when
about.
she
I
said it was
wasn't.
complicated.
It was very complicated, and yet I don't think I will. My opinions will be that of someone who has a complicated relationship with horror. We'll go with that because I scare easily. I scare so easily, and I don't like being scared. However, my curiosity is what keeps me going with horror. And you? What about you, Abby? I highly doubt it's like that complicated of a relationship. But
It used to be very complicated for me because I was one of those children that had nightmares and got scared extremely easily,
oh yeah,
so
same.
stupidly easily.
Hmm.
But as I got older, I don't know what changed. I guess like I used to watch a lot of like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International as I
Oh
was
yeah.
like when I was in high school and stuff, and so it kind of started to change.
Right.
And I'm with you. I'm like the story for a lot of this stuff is like super super
It's
interesting. I'm like
interesting.
some of these could do with a lot less jump scares. Um
Oh yeah, I can't do jump scares.
yeah, and some of them are just really unnecessary.
Right.
Um I I like them. I enjoy watching it. So I really enjoy horror movies or horror shows like The Haunting in Hill House. I really enjoyed that. I like watching Let's Plays. Let's say
Oh yeah,
what was it?
same.
Until Dawn was the Wendigo one.
Yes.
So Until Dawn, I really enjoyed watching it. I am not the biggest fan of reading horror or most
I
horror.
love reading horror. I love it because even if there's like a what is it? A tense
Mhm.
thing, you can't just like pause the television or anything. You have to push through it. You have to read through it
Mhm. Mhm.
because it's not like you can just skip ahead. No, you have to read through everything, power through it, and your mind will just create like. Well, for me, it's like if I read a book, it's like watching television. Like my mind is just so imaginative. Like I will visualize the scenarios.
Yeah.
and my brain is fucked up. So I'm just like, oh gosh, this is gonna be ended up so much worse than it really is. And you do get tense, and at least for me, I get tense and sweaty. But I do love reading horror more than I like watching it or playing. I can't play horror. I can't. I'm like, it's just like reading. You have to push through. You can't just skip ahead because it's a video game. You know, you have
Like,
to push through. I cannot do that. Like I can't because reading visually, I'm in control. I can, picture what I want to see and everything.
yeah.
When it comes to video games, it's no. So, because we've really never talked about like horror to each other, I have a few questions.
Okay.
So, what is one? I know you're like, we're not going to get too personal with like stories or anything because we're going to do something
Yeah, yeah.
special for Halloween. But what is the one movie that traumatized you as a kid? It doesn't even have to be horror. It could just be like a movie that
Yeah.
traumatized you and gave you nightmares,
Yeah.
like a
So
horror
like
movie
what
would.
media? Okay, yeah.
Well, in this case, it'll be movie. What movie
Movie.
traumatized you as a kid?
Like a lot of shit traumatized me as a kid because
Yes.
again, I was very, very scared. Like Jurassic Park's
Oh
traumatized.
yes. What?
And I
Okay.
didn't like so I didn't watch Jurassic Park until I was like a senior in high school, and then I had to like after just the first movie, I went and read 3 books of Helsing, like that Helsing, 3 manga of Helsing
Oh my gosh.
to like calm myself down. Like that's
Wow.
kind of like I was very easily scared as a kid. So my parents wouldn't let me watch it for my own well-being.
Right.
Um
Right.
Like even the awful Godzilla movie that America did in what, 99 or something?
I don't remember. I haven't watched Godzilla.
It that even kind of freaked me out. But then again, he was styled more like a dinosaur than he was that
Gojira.
Gojira. Um so I don't really remember because by now I've kind of have a neutral relationship with a lot of things that scared me as a kid. Like I can easily sit down and watch the Jurassic Park movie, especially
Oh yeah.
now because the like I have a new view on it. I can like disconnect myself from the movie. I can't. I like it's easier for me to stop suspending my disbelief and inserting myself in the movie and take it from a very analytical point of view.
Yeah.
I know I've talked about it in 2D and 3D animation podcasts that we
Mm-hmm.
did that I prefer practical effects over visual or special effects or CG effects.
Oh yes, yes, we
Um,
talked about that. Yeah.
so I can pull myself out of situations like that a lot easier now that I'm an adult. So
Right.
I can analyze things without really freaking myself out.
I can see that.
That doesn't always happen with horror movies because I get so engrossed in the thing that I don't pull myself out in time before a jump scare happens.
See, if it's a good jump scare, like for me, well, all jump scares are,
Yeah.
because I'll expect a jump scare and then it won't happen, and the one time that I don't expect it, it does happen and it gets me. I'm just
Yeah.
freaked out. Like, oh my gosh. So I know this isn't media, but this will kind of explain like it will explain why I get like jumpy over jump scares. So we went to the Spirit of Halloween yesterday. Was it yesterday?
To
Yes.
like a spirit store.
A spirit store, not yesterday, but Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay.
I forget what day it is today. So it's
Tracy,
Spirit
you
of Halloween,
no.
which is, for those who do not know, Spirit of Halloween is a store that sells Halloween stuff, costumes, scary things, little animatronics that move, all of that, right?
They're the store that pops up in empty businesses, like
Yeah.
vacant. Like I know we have one kind of close to us that popped up in a former Toys R Us that has not found a replacement business yet.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So we went to the Halloween store, and I know like they have like these little patches on the ground so you can step on in case you want to see, oh, how these animatronics work, right? So I was walking and there's one that did not have a pad on the ground. It was a sensor instead, right? It'll have a sensor so when you pass by, it'll jump scare you, right? I didn't know that. So I was walking around and it was by myself. My husband was with me, but he was like perusing the aisles. And I walk around and a spider jumps at me. And I'm like, I didn't step on anything, did I? No, I didn't. It's because it had a sensor. Spider fucking scared me. And I'm like, why? Just why? So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna trick Jack into doing it. So I try to pull Jack like to walk past it and scare him. It got me again. I'm like, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. And yet Jack is like, oh. And I'm like, it got me again. I'm like, this was for you, not for me, twice. And I knew what was happening. And I'm just like, I don't, jump scares can get me very good. Very, very good. I just, oh gosh. I'm
Your
such a wimp.
husband is super laid back, though.
Yes, he is. I guess maybe because I'm tense and I was expecting it. And then when it happened, I'm like, ugh, it got me twice. I fucking hate that spider. But they're becoming smart now. They don't need pads or anything like to step on. You just need a fucking sensor and then things will move. And I'm like, nah, dude, I'm good. Oh God.
I think I can safely say for both of us, we would probably never go to a haunted house.
I do have. Do you want to save this story for Halloween then? Because I do have a haunted house story, but it was fun, not anything scary.
Well, that's a difficult question because it is. Well, no, yeah, go ahead and say it because this is like like a haunted house is an entertainment section.
True.
Or
Okay.
wait, is it like an actual ghost or is it like
No, it's not. No, nothing actually spooky. It's actually
okay,
pretty
okay,
fun.
okay.
So
Then yeah, I would say yeah, it would fit very well for this.
perfect. So I went to a haunted house. Um, that was run by a lot of people that I knew in high school. A lot of my classmates who were in band and theater decided to do this haunted house in Tuscaloosa. I don't think they do it anymore. But I was like, sure, I'll do it. How bad can it be, right? Like, if my friends are a part of it, how bad could it be? I was scared, but I was laughing the whole time because anyone that I saw, a lot of my classmates, they would try to scare me. However, I recognized them and I'm just like, oh, yay, hey, I know you, and like all of that stuff. And it was a fun time. And like,
Right.
I can quote some things that they would say. And like, there was one of these guys who's super like funny and chill. And he was supposed to have like the freak out behind these bars because it's like a asylum kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he's trying to
yeah.
freak out. And I was laughing because and I was laughing and he was trying not to laugh because he knew who I was. And I was like, oh shit, I'm ruining his performance because if I'm laughing because we recognize each other, it was funny because he was trying to still stay in character. And I was just so surprised and excited to see him. And I was just laughing my ass off. So that's the only time I ever went to a haunted house, and I will never go to one again. I just did it so I could support my bandmates, my band friends, and theater friends. And I was like, I can't go to another one because this is the best one. This will top it off, and I still have good memories of that one. Actually, I take that back. I did have a terrifying experience at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum
Oh,
in Holland. And I
yeah.
was like 12 or 13, I think,
Ooh,
at the time.
yeah.
And you know those wax museums, it's made
Oh,
everything's made of wax, so everything looks real. And I was like, I'll try and brave it because there's this area where they show like these torture scenes and like what they used to do to torture people back in the day, right? And it was like a scary floor that you had to go through. And I was like, okay, it's wax. And my dad was trying to convince me, it's just wax. It's not going to be real people or anything like that. And we're like, okay, I'll be brave. I know if it's just wax, just look cool, right? Nothing will jump out at me. No, they actually had live actors in there. And it scared me
Oh,
because you couldn't tell. And I just, I remember screaming to my dad, "You liar! You lied to me!" Yet my dad was fucking losing his shit. He was having the best time seeing me freak out. Because I'm just like, "You lied to me!" And my dad, because my dad didn't know either. You know, he did. How was he to know? He's never been there. And so, and so I was like shaking. I was crying because I wasn't expecting that because the jump scares were so good. And my
yeah,
dad was laughing his ass off, and he was so kind. He actually let me. We had like an emergency exit if we got too scared. And
yeah.
my sister, who was like a year older than me, she just went through it like no, she was not scared at all.
She don't
Mom
give two
did too,
fucks.
yeah. But for me, my dad just laughs and he takes me out, and he's like, "I'm sorry, it's okay. We'll go to the next floor. We'll see some good things. Nothing like that is ever gonna happen." I was like, "Okay, okay, Dad." I was so scared because my brother was with my grandmother, and my brother was way too young. Right? He was just
Yeah,
way too
yeah,
young. So my grandmother was already gone. So my dad took me to my grandmother, and then he went back up to meet up with my mom. Right? And I was just like shaking. And I was like, "Grandpa, he lied to me." And my grandma was just laughing because she heard. I was like, "This is terrifying," and because I was not expecting it. I guess that would be considered a horror house thing.
yeah, yeah. That's fair. That's fair. It's entertainment. Yeah,
It is entertainment, and to be honest, when I think about it, it was so cool to see the way that they did the wax in that, and because you know when you're traumatized in terror, you remember a lot more. Your brain goes into overdrive. You start thinking a lot more clearly and you remember a lot of things, right?
yeah,
But I still remember, wow, those wax things were so good if I couldn't tell between that and a real person. Because you really
yeah.
couldn't. And they had like these the of course the room was darkened and all of that, so you couldn't really see, you know. It was awesome. As an adult, if I ever go to another wax museum like that, I want to see if I can brave through their horror section. I hope I could. But I'm
I
just
doubt
like,
you would go alone, and I
no,
bet
I
you would
will not.
sacrifice
In
whoever
fact,
was with you.
in any horror house situation, I will never be the front or the back. I will be directly in the middle, protected on all sides.
Like I said, you'd sacrifice everyone around
Oh
you.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. For reals.
So
And
remind me not to get caught in a zombie apocalypse with you
oh yeah, no, no. Oh, see, zombies don't scare me anymore.
anymore.
Anymore. Because we'll get to that in a second. I
Okay.
just I don't see that zombies are scary per se.
Okay. Do you think
But
they're
we'll get to that.
overplayed in media at this point?
It's not even that they're overplayed. Well, yes, yes, they are overplayed. But let's see. Because you have these shambling zombies, and then you have those fast running zombies, and then you have like these monstrous looking zombies like you see in video games, like the witch or whatever from like Left 4 Dead 2,
Yeah.
with like all these powers or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, zombies, if there were actual zombies that were raised from the dead, they wouldn't really shamble. They really wouldn't be able to move because of the decay, right? And that's where like, oh no, it's a chemical virus thing that zombifies you. Then it's not really a zombie, you know, because you're still your flesh is still rotting. Like scientifically, I don't know if that would work for me. There's a lot of I know there's like there are many um videos out there that will explain how zombies could actually work, but I don't know. I just don't find it terrifying. I don't find vampires terrifying either. In
Is
fact, I
that
find
because
them
of
kind of
Twilight?
no. It's like in fact, I find them kind of hot because even when you think of
Well,
even when you think of Dracula, okay, yes, he drinks the blood of his victims and me, but he was a suave man. He could literally seduce his victims, and I'm like, all right, seduce me, do it, fucking do it. Especially in 2020. I'm just like, do it. Seduce me and
Say,
kill me. I'm okay with
can
that.
since we're on vampires for a second, can I say that David uh Boreanaz? I've never really heard it pronounced, but the guy who played Angel from Buffy and the TV series.
Oh, yes. He also plays some Bones, but not as a vampire.
Well, I mean, we're talking about vampires, so we're going to specifically Angel, but he also, when Bones ended, he ended up in like another series on Fox, I
Mm.
think, SEAL
Mm.
Team or something. I don't know, but yeah, him.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah, no. Amazing man.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so vampires. Like, and it's not even Twilight. Twilight did, well, yeah, Twilight ruined vampires. But it was like, if you've ever seen Underworld or Blade or all of that,
Yes,
like,
God, Wesley Snipes. Yes,
I'm just like, okay,
yes,
vampires really aren't that terrifying because they just want to they just want to live their life. They just want
yeah,
to live their life.
yeah.
Yeah, they think they're immortal. Yeah, they have like a class. A lot of vampires have like classist or elitist mindsets, which fine. I mean, when
Mhm.
you're an immortal, I guess you can have those. But vampires just they're like, okay, I need to feed, and then I'm just gonna live my life. I'm like, you do you. There's nothing I can do if like you're hungry for blood and not really flesh. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's blood. Like now you could literally, I guess they,
donated.
yeah, donate it for your local vampire. Donate blood to your local vampire. I mean, it's like, mm, mm. I was
Yeah,
talking to Jack about it, and I'm just like, vampires really don't terrify me. You
right.
know, they really don't. But it's still like vampires and zombies. Meh. Aliens terrify me.
Oh yeah. Oh
Aliens, because you don't know what they look
yes.
like. So that gives creators a chance to make whatever alien thing. You know,
And then
um,
the fact is that they're not human. We
no, they're
can't
not.
guarantee like a, what we would expect a normal reaction to us. Like, no, girl, I feel you. Like, aliens were another thing that terrified me. As I was scared of a lot of shit when I was a kid,
Yeah,
a
no.
lot of shit. So yeah, I get you about the aliens. That's fair,
Yeah,
but
aliens.
I was not super terrified of Independence Day, if that makes sense.
Oh no. Well, Independence Day was more. Excuse me. Hold on. I have to sneeze.
Bless you.
Excuse me. So Independence Day was more of an action flick than a horror flick. You know what I
But you
mean?
have to admit there are some moments in there that were pretty intense.
Uh
Well,
I
I
see.
would specifically say the dissection and autopsy scene.
Well, okay, that involved a jump scare, but I for Independence Day, I just didn't. I really, I guess, because I knew at that time what the difference of an adventure action flick film was in a horror film, because it didn't really build up the tension like a horror film did. But at the same time, I could also see why it would terrify a lot of people because the jump scare was good.
The jump scare, like talking about like it as a scare moment, it was really good because it kind of hid the monster when it was alive. Like
Yeah,
at that time, we had not seen any of the monsters full on intact, upright, and alive.
right.
Um, so they kind of hid that until the very end. It had strobing light, so it kind of like disoriented you. It
Yeah,
hid it in fog. It was also behind a glass. It was doing a lot of stuff. I really appreciate it as like a very intense, scary moment. But I
hmm,
also really appreciate my little like cowardice heart when I was a kid. I really appreciate it's like light them up and like all the like special ops come in and just mow the guy down.
yeah, yeah. True. I really do like Independence Day,
Yeah,
but I'm just
it's
like,
a good one.
it is a good one. I feel like going back to the question because we totally I mean that's all my fault. I totally
I was about to say,
went through.
what? We got off topic? Two
Well, I was about to
ADD
say
people?
uh but it also ties into what scares me, what doesn't scare me. I was traumatized. The film that traumatized me as a kid was Chucky. And I know that because no other horror film that I
Oh.
saw really scared me as bad as Chucky did. Because I at the time I was a kid, obviously. I had a lot of dolls and plushies. So when I my dad was watching it and when I stumbled upon it and I was hiding behind the couch because he said I wasn't allowed to watch it, I watched it anyway. That was the biggest mistake of my life. So I was hiding behind the couch because I was like, it's a doll movie. How scary can it be or how bad could it be? I never trusted my dolls after that. I'm like, oh shit, my dolls can come to life. I didn't see the beginning where there was an actual man like a serial killer who possessed the doll. Never saw that, right? Never saw that.
Yeah.
So
So
I
you don't know
immediately
the
thought,
setup for it.
yeah, I didn't know the setup. I just saw this doll trying to kill this kid or trying to possess this kid, killing his family. And I'm like, oh my God, the dolls are going to kill my family. And I was like so scared. There was one doll though that I always trusted. And I was like, she'll protect me, you know, just like she will never hurt me
Fair.
because I've been so good to her. And I was like, everyone else would come to kill me. And I was just like, okay, no, it's a movie. It doesn't exist. But I had a lot of nightmares of Chucky. And so when I
Mm.
saw was it the Chucky dolls at like horror things like in a horror store or like Halloween store,
Oh,
I'm like, oh my God, they're
yeah.
gonna come to life and they're gonna kill everybody. Why doesn't anyone know? And I would avoid them like the plague. Like they ain't gonna kill
How
me.
how old were you when you saw that?
I think I was like 6 or 7.
Oh,
I was
girl.
very young. I was
That's
very
so
young.
young.
But I was a rebellious kid. When my dad told me not, or when my parents told me, you can't watch this, you can't watch this, I'm like, watch me. And I would be so quiet, I would hide behind the couch and watch what they would watch. And they would only know I was there because my dad caught me, obviously, watching Chucky because I screamed and I was like, or gasped. And I was like, no, no, making these things. I was just like, Chucky, man. And that's the one movie, like Jack was like, hey, we should watch this. I'm like, no, I can't watch Chucky. I can't do it. You can't make me. I hate living doll movies. I hate them.
So have you seen it kind of goes into the possessed doll genre.
Life
But
Size with what was her name? Tyra Banks.
no, but I do think there was another like
That was just a Disney movie.
weird. It wasn't like what I'm thinking of isn't a Disney movie, and I couldn't. It may just have to wait until another conversation.
No,
It
no, no,
wasn't a
no.
scary movie. It wasn't a
Yeah.
scary movie though. But she was like a princess from the Dark Ages. She wore a necklace that was cursed and like turned her into a statue. And so like in like 1993 or something,
Jeez.
someone like steals the necklace or takes the necklace off of her, and she is in the present time. So that like you're like living doll. I'm like, that's
Oh.
kind of what it reminds me of. But I know it's not the same. I know
I
it's not.
don't think so, but that's interesting. That actually sounds like a rom-com.
I'm pretty sure it was a rom-com because she's eating like street food like that's wrapped up, and she's like, oh, the crunchy is very good. He's like, there isn't anything crunchy in this. She's like, but it's crunchy. And he looks at it, it's like, you're eating the paper. You don't
Oh my
eat the
God.
paper.
That's amazing. That is
um
amazing.
I'll have to tell you more about it later. But have you ever watched Annabelle
Nope.
movie?
Nope. For the same reason, I will not watch Chucky. Fuck Annabelle. And not only is Annabelle fucking real, she fucking escaped this year. She escaped. And then of course they found her again. But I'm
Well,
like,
she escaped.
oh, another thing. So not only is it a doll, it
Mhm.
also deals with demons that to me are very, for at least personally to me, are very real.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's like a no touch kind of thing.
and I'm just like, and I'm terrified. I'm just like, those are the reasons. Like, I also won't watch The Exorcist. I ain't dealing with demons.
Okay.
I ain't inviting them to my house. Hell nah. Hell nah.
Okay.
So I'm just
Exorcist,
like,
yeah, that's fair.
The Exorcist, fuck that. Fuck that. I ain't dealing with that shit in my house. Nah. Lord help me. And then you have a demon possessed doll. Hell nah. That's like top tier. Not gonna fuck with that. That's the no.
Fuck that shit, I'm out.
And yeah, and it's not some fiction like Chucky or with some serial
Right.
killer. No, no, that shit's real. I'm like, and then when because you told me, oh yeah, Annabelle escaped, and I'm like, wait, the Annabelle? I remember the conversation. It's like the Annabelle. You're like, yes, the Annabelle. I was like, oh hell no, hell no, I was just like,
Like, my sister sent that to me. I'm like, give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back to this conversation. I gotta forward this to Ricey. I send it to you. I'm like, I keep telling my sister, hang on. And then you're like, the Annabelle? I'm like, there it is.
hell no, bitch, I ain't even gonna try. Ooh. Ooh. I was like,
And that
no.
was like, when my sister sent me that was already several days after she had escaped.
And you just sit there and you think, holy crap, that's a thing that could happen, but it just, no, no, Annabelle or the devil or demon possessing Annabelle, don't you fuck with us. Listen, I have the Lord of Jesus on my side. Please don't come visit me with that fucking doll. That's just terrifying. That's just terrifying, man. I ain't inviting us.
I feel like if I got a Raggedy Ann, that's what Annabelle is. Annabelle is misrepresented or taken creative liberty within the movies.
Yes.
That she's a porcelain doll.
Yes.
But in real life, she is a Raggedy Ann doll. That's why she's called Annabelle. That is this.
Oh.
Yes. So she is a Raggedy Ann doll.
Interesting.
And now I'm really tempted to go get a Raggedy Ann doll and
Don't
put her
you
in her
fucking
house.
dare. Don't
That would
you
end our
fucking
friendship.
dare. Yeah, it'll ruin our friendship. Are you kidding me? Hell no. Nah, I ain't about that life. Oh my gosh, that just terrifies me. Dolls terrify me and demons. But I can watch, so demons terrify me like in horror movies because that to me is a very real thing, or ghosts or whatever, you know. I watched Poltergeist as my official first horror film that I actually sat down and watched with my parents. It was Poltergeist, you know. And of fucking course, the ghost possessed the little kid's doll in Poltergeist. And I'm like, fuck you guys. You know, I'm terrified of living fucking dolls. Oh. But Poltergeist is a good movie. I will say for beginners, because you deal with ghosts, obviously. I don't think you've ever seen Poltergeist, have you?
I don't like. You're like, it possessed the doll. Did it?
It was that clown doll, that evil clown thing.
Oh, with the zills that go
Yeah.
clink, 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 clink.
Whoa.
Oh, right. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm a little more distracted by the fucking portal in her closet.
Or that tree. That like.
Oh yeah, the
it
tree
possessed
was
everything.
The tree was like a really, really intense part.
It really was. And you know, I'm sitting here and I was like, this is my first horror movie. My family's with me. I won't be as freaked out, right? You know, because, yeah. No, I was still freaked out. The portal was terrifying. The fact that the TV was also terrifying. Like, you know, I'm just like, why is this all so terrifying? And then, of course,
How old were you, though, with
I was a lot older.
Poltergeist?
I think I was like in my pre-teens or teens.
Okay, yeah.
But like, again, I had a love-hate relationship, which is weird because I watched shit like, what was it? Well, I guess Twilight Zone isn't a horror thing, but it kind of is in some aspects. Some of them are, but not all of them.
Yeah.
And I watched the Twilight Zone like a lot. And I never assumed that some of them could be horror. I was like, okay, this is sci-fi. This is interesting because some of the mysteries in the Twilight Zone is what captured me, you know? It's what intrigued me. And that's why I think my love for horror stories come from, because a lot of them are very good. Like Poltergeist is okay because Poltergeist it's a very long movie and the building towards the tension doesn't really happen until like near in the end or the latter half of the movie. So I'm just like, okay, this is fine. But fucking things like Chucky, oh hell no.
Oh, hell no.
But I can appreciate a good horror story. I'm trying to think of
Agreed.
a. Oh, you know what?
Mm.
I couldn't watch this by myself, but we'll talk about a recent horror movie. Hereditary.
Okay.
I I saw bits and pieces of Hereditary. I never could sit full through Hereditary. And I remember I would bring two of my friends to watch it with me. So it was me, my husband, and two friends. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but
I think because you took a picture of
I
it,
did. I did take a picture of
I
it.
posted
I
it,
feel
and you're
I
like,
I filmed some clips, but they are like, please don't show this to anybody. And I was like, I won't show this to anybody. But I have some clips of them freaking out. It's so funny. And I'm like, this is the kind of shit that makes
yeah,
horror movie watching interesting.
right.
I mean, with friends,
I
it was fun.
yeah, I can agree with that because it's like for me, horror has kind of two aspects for me. It's like
Hmm.
a really good storyline, which is why I really didn't like what was something came out a couple of years ago. Oh, The Boy. That's what it was. That
Oh God. What's with you and
disappointed
the
me.
dolls? Why do you keep bringing
No,
up
no,
the
no, no.
dolls?
But okay, I know, I know, I know, I know, I
No,
know, I know.
I'm
We're getting
totally
into
teasing.
spoilers.
I was like, I'm totally teasing. I know of the boy.
Yeah, it's like getting into spoiler territories. I like the. I'm there for the story. I'm like, okay, why is this doll
Hmm.
possessed? What's happening with this doll? What has this ground haunted that this doll is possessed? And then come to find out, it's a grown ass man
Yeah.
living in the walls of the house and moving the doll around and
Yeah.
interacting with stuff. And I'm like, this is fucking like I was so disappointed with that movie, with that ending and that
Yeah.
twist and whatnot. The other, because I really enjoy a good storyline with the horror and the paranormal and things like
Same,
that.
same,
I
same, same.
also genuinely, and this is just me in general because I'm a theater person, I really enjoy an audience experience with something.
Yeah.
I got to go see The Haunting in Connecticut on the big screen when it was in
Oh,
theaters, and I
yeah.
went and saw it with my best friend from high school. And so I could like again, a lot of my horror interactions came later when I was in late high school, very early college. And it's a very mild horror movie. Like compared to a lot of stuff now and a lot of stuff before, it is extremely mild and it has a fairly interesting storyline that they have kind of come up with. It's supposed to be based off a true story, but they have taken a lot of creative license with it.
Right, 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 right.
So we saw it on the big screen. So we were like there were other people in the audience. There weren't a lot of people, but there were some. There were a couple of people about 5 rows behind me and her. About 3 rows behind them, kind of on the other side of the theater, was a couple of more. It was about 2, 3 people. Then about 3 rows in front of us, all the way on the other side, next to the wall, was a group of about 4 or 5 girls
Yeah.
close to our age, maybe a little younger, because I think we were like, this may have been like early high school. I should actually look this up. The
Yeah,
Haunting
yeah,
in
yeah.
Connecticut.
Well, while you're looking it up,
Uh,
I was
it's a
about to say,
2009, so it would have been
uh,
the very end of my high school career, start of college.
right.
Um, so we're getting to it. It's getting really good. It's building up. It's real slow, and like we're following this person walk around the house. Some things have already started to show up, kind of spooky stuff. And then it's like, okay, it's one of those moments. It's like, all right, a jump scare is coming. A jump
Oh,
scare is coming. A jump scare is coming.
yeah.
Half a second before the jump scare happened, one of the girls in front of us screamed.
Uh,
And then immediately the jump scare happened. She
oh no.
screamed before the jump scare happened, and everybody in the audience, like all 10 of us, just laughed our ass off at her because it was fucking funny.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
like I genuinely appreciate like an audience experience. It's like I kind of want to go through a haunted house with other people to see their reactions.
I
But I
can't
also don't
do
want to
it. Yeah,
I know, girl, same, girl,
listen,
same.
because I was like, if we're talking about movie tropes, I'm gonna die first, okay? People of color always die, so I'm just like, nah, I'm good, bruh. I'm good.
No,
I
nah,
won't
girl.
ever. I won't
You're
ever.
a person of color. You know better to mess with than to poke that shit. I'm a white person. I'm like, let's go poke it.
Yeah, no, wait, no, 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 no. I think. Okay, so speaking of like tropes, and all of
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
I will say I saw. Okay, so this was I think a post on Twitter or Tumblr or like a thread, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember it was the funniest thing I've ever read because it was this woman and her husband, and I think her husband was black. She was white, right?
Yeah.
She goes and she sees this house that they wanted to buy. I wish I could find this story, but every time I read it, I laugh. And they wanted to look at this house. And immediately the man's like, I don't like this house. And she's like, no, let's give it a chance. And this house had like these secret doors that wouldn't lead anywhere or like to pitch blackness. But she was entranced by the house, how pretty it was, how old it was, all of that. And her husband's like, no, I don't like this. And then I think, what was it? They went into the bathroom and she was like, I need this house because it has like a clawfoot tub or something, right? And her husband's like, listen, no, there's something wrong with this house. We really shouldn't buy this house. And it turns out someone was murdered in the house. And she was like, this is how a horror movie always starts. It's always a white woman who wants to be entranced by this house and how pretty and old it looks. And it's always her man who's like, no, there's something wrong with this house that saved her life. And I'm just like, wow. I wish I could find it. It was the funniest story I've ever read on Twitter. And I'm just like, yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah.
When we
Yeah.
know like there's something wrong, we're like, nah. I ain't about that life. Nope. No,
Nope.
no. I can't do it. No, man. I'm curious. I'm a curious person, but I ain't that curious. Nah.
Did Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I had a lot of friends who wanted to go to these spooky places in our town, right?
Yeah.
And we live in the country. So, and we also have a lot of historic buildings where I grew up. And they're like, let's go do this haunted house thing. And I'm like, bitch, why do you want to do that? I was like, there could be some evil presence. There could be some ghosts. There could be a murderer. And y'all want to go out to a haunted house? Like a real haunted house? Please.
Mm-mm.
Please. Like, Bryce Hospital, right?
Oh,
Near the
yeah.
University. Every college student wants to go to Bryce Hospital because Bryce Hospital or the old Bryce building was haunted. Now
It's not was, it still is.
or is haunted. And you see people like, let's go to the Bryce building. I'm like, bitch, no. Y'all go ahead and go in. I'm going to be the one that lives in a
Yeah, I'm
horror
gonna be
movie.
the person of color that's just like not gonna be about this. You
Yeah,
white
nah,
people
man.
can go get possessed and haunted and shit.
Yeah, by all means. If y'all want to, and they're like, let's take a Ouija board and speak with the spirits. I'm like, I
Oh,
ain't
hell
do
no.
that. That's on you, not on me, Big B. I ain't
Hell
about
no.
that life. Nah.
Speaking of
I'm
Ouija
good.
boards,
Oh,
have
God.
you seen the original Paranormal Activity or the Ouija board or like whatever?
Ouija, the movie?
I think so, but like my sister says she watched like a Spanish version of it, and they say Oveja. So
Oh,
all I see now when I read Ouija is Oveja.
oh, no, I don't fuck with that shit. No, man.
Hell no.
No. And
So
like,
have you watched either of those?
I haven't seen Paranormal Activity because, like, I tried, but it bored me. Like, it's
Oh.
it's a little bit of a slow burn. I just wasn't interested, to be
Okay.
honest. I don't know if it was the first.
appreciate a slow burn.
I do,
But
but
I will give that to you. Like Paranormal Activity is really slow. It is very,
yeah.
very slow to build up.
And like I get the scare. The scares are amazing. Don't get me
Yes.
wrong. I'll
Oh
watch
yeah.
clips or whatever, and like the scares are amazing. But
And it has like really good tense moment, like not just scary moments, but it's just like, oh
building
yeah,
tension.
here's a picture that you thought was burned in your childhood hiding in your attic. That's some
Mm.
suspenseful shit.
Yeah. That is. I will say no, I haven't seen that or a Ouija or whatever. Oeja.
Yeah.
I just like
Again, it was the Spanish dubbed version of that she had watched.
I was about to say, remind me the next time we do on our Halloween thing. I
Yeah.
have a good Ouija story to tell you.
Ooh,
Or
I hope
yeah.
you didn't.
That's why I don't ever mess with the Ouija boards.
Yeah, no. So speaking of slow burns, I was thinking of something and I've lost found footage. There we go. Speaking of paranormal activity with found footage, have you seen the Blair Witch
I
Project?
have seen the Blair Witch Project.
What did you think of that? Since it
Oh
was kind
man.
of the founder of the found footage genre.
So the Blair Witch was slow burn for
Mhm.
reals.
Mhm.
I actually appreciated it more than when I found out like the actual how they made it,
Yeah.
because that to me was more interesting. I know that sounds awful, but it was more interesting.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about we're talking about the classic '90s Blair Witch, not the
Oh
new
god,
Blair
no,
Witch.
not any of the sequels.
Yeah.
The sequels are awful.
So the Blair Witch was very interesting because I get what was like they were in a haunted woods or whatever and they're being haunted. However, it was their slow descent into madness that got me. Like I thought it was very interesting because they were just lost, wandering forever or possibly forever, you know? And have you heard about like how they made that film so popular?
It had a lot of like external, like,
Advertisements.
yeah, it
Yeah.
had like a website that did like uploaded like found like the journal of the girl that they had found and uploaded digital copies of it
Yes,
or digital
yes,
scans of
yes.
it. Um, it
Because
set
they're
up
like
like
all these three girls, like
missing.
all these people are actually dead when in reality they weren't, and
Yeah,
people believed it so much that they sent sympathy cards to their parents.
yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, they really went all out lying to these folk, and they had to hide. The actors had to hide until after the movie was done to make it more believable. I was like,
I
wow.
I think the reason it kind of like I really enjoyed the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
It's a fun movie, but I think because we watched it so much later than when it was actually aired
Same. I had to do the
that
same. Yeah.
we missed a lot of the original hype for it. Because by the time I watched the Blair Witch Project, I think I may have actually already seen Paranormal Activity.
Ah, I see.
So it's hard to appreciate the original if it's not the first one you've seen.
I will say it's genius. Well, now I
Absolutely.
like I mean, in the '90s, you didn't have high speed internet and like information on
Hmm.
your fingertips, so they got away with lying to the
Oh
masses,
yeah.
and it was brilliant. Like it's absolutely brilliant. Well, I mean, if everyone believed them and they sent sympathy cards to their parents and everything, like that shit, y'all smart, y'all crazy, but you're
Mm.
smart. And I'm just like, wow, like it's impressive. It really is. It was very impressive. So it was more. I enjoyed the story. I really did because
Hmm.
like you see how they slowly go crazy, and
Okay.
also a lot of the jump scares that you see,
Hmm.
and how the actors portrayed it, that was real because they were not expecting those kinds of jump scares. So they were
Yeah.
actually terrified on set because they didn't know what was going to happen, which makes it more
Yeah.
believable when you see it. Because most of their reactions
Are
were
genuine.
were genuine, very very genuine.
From my understanding is that the director would take each actor aside, tell them what they were supposed to do,
Yes,
and wouldn't tell them about what the other actors were going to be doing.
yeah, genius way to do it. Like, I feel like that would have been creative fun. And you would get like a unique experience out of that.
Right.
So,
I do with I'm really disappointed. I haven't seen the second one, like the Book of Shadow or whatever the hell it's
nah, I heard it was
called.
terrible.
I've heard it's terrible. I've seen what Doug Walker did a review on it, like
Mm-hmm.
um the Nostalgia Critic. Like it looks awful. Like I really wish they would have like continued on with the Blair Witch kind of persona because it's Matt Pat did a video, a film theory on it that is
Oh.
amazing, and I suggest everybody go watch it because it explains the Blair Witch Project so well. I kind of wish they had continued on with the Blair Witch, um, and the and kind of how it was originally done. Um, I do not get on the table, Mister. I'm sorry. I have a baby that's trying to get on the table, and you should not. Um, I forgot what I was gonna ask you. Oh, so hey, why are you on the table? Why are you? Do
He's
not
just
get on my
being cute,
keyboard.
okay?
I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mister. You want snuggles? Okay, snuggle. Oh, don't fall. Don't fall. Don't fall. Don't fall. Here, you can get down. Sorry. Um, he is super cute.
Yeah, I adore that cat.
He is so sweet. He's super. And now that it's cold here, he is super
Oh yeah,
snuggly.
you
He's
gotta
so
huddle for
snuggly.
warmth.
Um, so with um, let's say the Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity, or Activity, um,
Activia, paranormal
Activia. We're
paranormal
looking for
Activia.
sponsors if you wanna.
Paranormal Activia. I love it. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. You were saying?
So, like, obviously, Blair Witch is a little dated, and it's all right. It's good if you can if you can immerse yourself in that datedness. I appreciate with Paranormal Activity. Almost
Activia.
did it again. Shut
Oh
up.
yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
Shut
sorry.
up.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I think it's like the third Paranormal Activity
Mm-hmm.
that kind of progressed their technology
Oh
and their
yes.
storytelling. And by
Mm.
that, I think it was they used either a Xbox 360 or a PlayStation Connect. And either one of those uses infrared tracking to track the movement.
Oh.
And so what they did with, and again, I think it's the third movie, what they did is during the nighttime scenes, the camera would switch over to infrared or night vision. So it would pick up on those sensors, which would be a bunch of little dots.
Right.
And we've seen, like, at one point we see the little boy come down, he plays around in the living room and stuff where the Xbox or again the Kinect is.
Mm-hmm.
You can see him in the dots, and the dots move with him. Well, later on, we see something else in the dots.
Oh wow.
And like I really appreciate it when a movie is original with stuff or doesn't
Yeah.
overplay stuff. That's why tropes are a problem, like jump scares. Jump scares are overdone.
I will say, I think it's hard now, speaking of tropes and horror and stuff. At first, I thought a lot of this stuff was like, because we had a bunch of remakes and all of that, we weren't going to get a lot of original horror, right?
Yeah.
I will say there are some gold gems. Like I said, Hereditary. Hereditary has a fantastic story, fantastic acting, like, and tension build and music. Hereditary, I love, really love. And then you have movies like Get Out that go against all the tropes. Also very interesting, fantastic movie. It's more of
Yeah,
like a tension thriller.
I haven't seen it. I have seen Cinema Win's review of it,
It's very
and from
interesting. Yeah.
oh, absolutely. And again, I think just because it's marketing and stuff like that, I just think that paranormal and supernatural were starting to get very overplayed and are still very overplayed with um in media right now.
I was about to say, what do you, because like right now it's like, what other monster could you possibly make?
I don't know. I think like that's what was so great about Get Out is that it was refreshing. It
It
was
was.
different. It was
Mhm.
suspenseful because we haven't had a really good suspenseful movie in a while.
Very much.
The last one I kind of remember being suspenseful was The Ring. And even then it wasn't like a really good movie because it's an American adaptation.
Adaptation of a Japanese movie. I will say, speaking of Asian horror,
Mm.
Asian horror is, it hits different, man. Asian
Ooh.
horror hits different. Like
Ooh.
with not only with Ringu but or The Grudge, but like
Mm.
I remember I was in high school and I went, this will segue into another type of horror that I want to talk about. So I watched this film called Audition. Okay, Japanese horror film, Audition.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've heard about it or like watched it. I watched it in high school. It was my first entry. Well, I will say not really my first because there's another one I'll talk about later, but of body horror and weird aesthetic of like artistic aesthetic. Because if anyone has seen Audition, again, it is a slow burn, very slow burn of a movie. And the best way I can describe it without spoiling anything is that it's about a man who holds an audition for his next mate to like for a woman to be his next lover or wife or whatever. And the person that he picks turns out like she's crazy. I'm talking like crazy, crazy. And I say it's a body horror film because there is some gore and disgustingness in that film that I was just like, well, damn. All right, Japan, I see you. It was, again, it was a very slow burn, but when it hits, like the thriller, or when the thrill hits and the anxiety sets in, it does it so well. Like you feel bad for this man, but also you kind of just want it to end him because she tortures this guy in ways that I will not describe. And not only that, not only does she torture this guy, they also show flashback scenes of how she tortured other men as well. And I'm just like, oh gosh, man, Asian films, they don't give two flying fucks. Like
Nah,
it's
it's
oh,
it's completely different.
and they do it in like I see a lot of them do that kind of stuff in a more artistic, trippy kind of way, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense. Whereas in the US, I was going to, like, again, the other film that I got into body horror, quote unquote, wise, which really wasn't a horror film to me, but I can see why it is considered horror film to others, was Saw.
Okay.
And
Yeah. I like I get kind of picky when it comes to Saw that I wouldn't really consider Saw horror per se. It is
yeah,
definitely gore for
it is
sure,
gore.
which is kind of a subcategory to horror.
Right.
I would definitely say something like Silent Hill is a genuine horror.
I love Silent Hill. It's not even scary to me. Silent Hill the movie is not scary. The games, on the other hand, is something completely different. But Silent Hill the movie is, it's a fun time. I know where all these are. I can relate it to what a lot of the games are like, so it was just a nostalgia thing for me. But
Okay.
Saw, I think you're right. Saw wasn't a horror movie. My mother and I watched it because it was like, oh, this is a good mystery. Yeah, it has gore, but it's like a mystery movie, Let's solve who this person is. And of course, the twist ending for the first movie was amazing. Blew our fucking minds. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, no, this is a gore horror film because Hostel, that was another gory horror film." And I'm just like, I don't think I could do like body horror as a horror thing for me, cuz like they do solely like Saw and Hostel, not necessarily The Audition because The Audition actually does have other aspects than just body horror. But Saw and Hostel, that's another subcategory of horror that I can't watch because I just don't like body horror.
That's fair.
Even
I
though
don't.
now Saw
Yeah.
is kind of campy in its past movies, it's been,
Do you think it
campy.
was starting to play too much on its tropes?
Oh yeah, are you kidding? I will say though, the traps were inventive.
Oh yeah.
Very, very, very much inventive. But as a horror movie, I mean, it's not that scary to me. I think it's just more of the tension of, oh, are they gonna beat this trap or not, or and you see the outcome of if they don't beat it, or the outcome if they do beat it. Some people would lose body parts and such. It's terrifying and traumatizing. But I think that's like a body like Hostel. I can't
Yeah.
watch Hostel. Same thing. Like it's body horror. I can't watch it.
Yeah, I couldn't even watch what is it? It has Bruce Campbell in it.
Hmm.
Ah, heck. I had it 10 seconds ago. Dawn of the Dead, I think?
Oh. Interesting.
What I'm really bad at it. The Evil Dead. That's what it is.
Oh yeah, I can't watch The Evil Dead.
Cuz it's like even like the 1981 one
Yeah.
where it's like obvious that it's going to have like really campy, by this point very campy gore and all that.
Yes.
Nah, like I'm with you. I don't like gore. I don't like body horror. I really don't.
Yeah. I mean, like if you take a good slasher film, like what was it? Friday the 13th
Yeah,
or Scream. Like
Halloween.
Halloween. They don't
Yeah,
really focus much on the gore aspect as more as like the tension building
blood.
horror of jump scares or whatever. That
Yeah,
kind of thing. And what you were saying, yeah, like body horror is just you focus so much on
um
the gore that it just
and
I
I
can't.
don't like there are things where I don't mind blood. Like I can handle blood so much easier than I can handle gore. So like
True.
Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street kinda. It does kind of get into the gore, but Friday the 13th, a lot of that is blood.
Yeah, that's very much true. Good way. That's a good way to take that apart. You're right. There's gore
Yeah.
and then there's blood.
And
Um,
I can handle blood all day long. It's like vampires, sure.
yeah,
Werewolves, sure. It's
vampires.
things like that. Blood, sure, fine, whatever. When we get into gore, nope.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I just can't handle a lot of like gory stuff as horror. Like I will say when I mention gore, I do mention like stuff like Hostel and Saw. However, I do like have if you've seen John Carpenter's The Thing, that kind of quote unquote gore doesn't bother me. Um it's of course an alien. Have you seen John Carpenter's The Thing?
I don't think so.
It's a classic 80s film. It deals with aliens that
Yeah.
could shapeshift into pretty much anything, if you get infected. So that movie I think is fine. I don't find
Uh,
yeah.
wait, yeah, isn't this the one that is kind of like wormy kind of things that crawl up your butt and make you explode?
No, that's Slither, but
Uh, okay.
yeah, that's Slither right there. The Thing is a little bit it's a very 80s movie.
Oh, didn't they kind of like do a remake of this
They did.
in 2011?
Yes,
Yep.
with the same name, but not 2011. We're talking about the classic 80s because they use good practical,
82.
yeah, good practical effects, tension building, fantastic film. I love that film. And it doesn't really it some of the scenes where they show like gore or the alien kind of doing it is gory, but it's not gory. Not like what you would see in Hostel or Saw. Cuz I as an adult I can appreciate its practical effects of how they made like I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen it. So there's a scene that I won't spoil, but the practical effects are amazing in that scene. But no spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. It's a very is it an intense movie? Yes, but
Hmm.
intense in the fact of you don't know who really is the alien or you don't know who really is the thing or anything. Like you could be lied to, you don't know. And it's interesting. I love that concept. But of course it deals with like an alien. Aliens,
I
man.
aliens
Aliens.
though.
But
I
yeah.
have a question for you. Going back to Japanese and body horror,
Mhm.
I'd like to shift from digital media or like visual media of like movies and games and stuff and go to something a little more physical. Um,
Let's get
and talk
physical.
about the master Junji Ito.
Ah, love him. Love him.
I was first really introduced to him through Uzumaki.
Oh, wait. Are you talking about yeah, the spiral.
Yes.
Yeah. I will have to say the same. I was introduced to Junji Ito because of Spiral. And I was
Yes.
the person who like I pushed through reading the manga, all of Spiral. And it's sad. It's just sad in a good way.
Cool.
If you've ever seen the ending to Uzumaki,
I read it all. It was so good.
it's very
Um
good.
it is I like because it's a comic book or a manga because
Mm-hmm.
it's Japanese. It's allowed to have so much more visual impact
Yes.
along with the storytelling. Um,
A lot of his stories have visual impact. Like a
I
lot
mean,
of them.
that's just Junji Ito.
Yes, and I
Like
love
his
it. His art style is so freaky. Like he did so well. And I've read a lot of other horror comics and such, horror manga. His there's just something about the way he artistically draws those things that makes it 10 times more terrifying than the normal. And I don't know why, but it just does. And it's great. Ugh.
um but I like it's I get a different kind of satisfaction along with the horror sensation from two-dimensional media, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so I know because of you, you have suggested Melvina's Therapy to me. That is
Oh,
on
that's a good one.
Webtoons.
Yes.
That is, I would say that started off very much as a psychological horror. It did
I
kind of get into like
It is very much psychological
more,
horror.
yeah, it got more into like a visual horror later on, but it is definitely a psychological horror.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have read most of the first book of Lock and Key. I think it's Lock and Key.
Oh,
That is
oh, oh,
actually
oh.
now
It's
a show on
right.
Netflix.
Hmm.
And that has a slow burn too. But just books
Right.
just hit differently. to me.
I have never seen Lock and Key. Is it a horror?
It is horror. It's actually thanks to the comic book shop owner that's in Tuscaloosa. I told him like, yeah, this is kind of the stuff that I'm interested in. He's like, here's the first book to Lock and Key. It is written by Stephen King's stepson, and it is a horror. I actually have the first 2 books if you ever want to borrow them. But yes, it is absolutely a horror movie or horror book.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh. I didn't know that. Now I
It's
know.
good.
I need I
Yeah.
need to get back into like
Reading.
a bunch of stuff. I will say I do have some horror comics that I remember reading that are really good. I will say reading it or especially comics and seeing it in comic form in manga or comics in general is very interesting. I love seeing the art that it portrays. I wish like I've seen what was it? Creepshow? Like those horror comics in Creepshow? It's campy, totally old school horror, but it's very visually pleasing to read. I think I've only saw like one comic, but it's still the way the artist would draw it. It's very interesting. I also I have a horror comic that I wish. I think it's on my bookshelf that I'm looking behind me. And I can't remember who. I think it's Gene Simmons. I want to say that made this comic. And I remember reading it at a bookstore, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is very interesting. I was reading it every time I would go to the bookstore in college. I would just pick it up again if I wanted something spooky. And then they took it off the shelf. And I forgot to take pictures or remember who the artist was. But I do think I think it's Gene Simmons. Anyway, I actually found at a second hand store, I found the actual comic and I bought it. And I was like, this is mine now. Because I always think back to some of the stories. And the art in the book, there's, of course, different artists who created it. The artists in some of the stories it's just stunning. It's so pretty. I mean, pretty as horror could be. It was really pretty to look at. And I was like, this is nice. This is why I like to see more horror comics than like books or whatever. Because like not only do you get the tension building and the good story, you also get some very pretty visuals. Like really, really pretty visuals.
I wouldn't necessarily call them pretty, but
No, some of them just are pretty.
Yeah.
Like the art style is nice. Pretty in the horror sense of like gore, or if they have a monster, how the monster looks like, the use of colors, like all of
actually that. You get what the artist wanted you to see.
Yeah, but that's why I'm like, it's pretty because the use of colors, the use of like shading, a lot of the stuff, artist stuff. I'm just like, no, this is pretty. This is just pretty. And I know it's weird to say that about a horror comic, but that's what I'm sticking to. Yeah, that shit pretty. That is pretty to look at and to read.
It's a little weird, but it's the best word for it. Did you know that The Ring was originally a comic book?
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that before. That The Ring was a Ringu.
Ringu has 3 books, and then it has a sequel that follows that progresses the story past the end of Ringu.
And so America just came in and shat all over it.
Yeah.
I will say another horror that I really like that I noticed a lot of people compare it to, because I will say, depending on the country that you're in, horror is going to be different. You know? I recently was looking into this movie called Raw that a lot of people were like, oh, this is horror. And I don't know if I would consider it horror, but a lot of people are like, yeah, no, this is horror. Raw is a French film. And in that film, I'm not just going to equate all French horror to be like artistic, but they do have like a lot of artistic visuals, and the aesthetic is really, really pretty. Like really pretty. And that like you have that French, artist stuff. And then you have what was it? Spanish films, which more to me are a little bit more gritty in
Yeah.
their horror. And I'm just like, this is
Especially
nice.
with like supernatural horror.
Oh, yes. And I like those like Spanish horror films are very to me gritty. Wreck being one of them, and that's a zombie film that I actually really do like, and that's scary. Like, well, scary in the fact that some of these jump scares are just so good. And then, and the whole point of that is it's supernatural in Wreck. I don't know if that's spoilers, but it's supernatural. Whereas when Americans did it, Americans took it and went a different direction. Like they followed the film pretty concisely until the very end when they took away the supernatural aspect of it, which America, of course. I mean, it's
Are
whatever.
we surprised?
Eh, eh.
I think because America doesn't have like a really firm foundation with its spiritual self or spiritual side.
Oh no, I
I
mean I can say that it
I think
does, but
well, I mean, if you look at it, it's like look at Ringu in The
Ringu.
Ring. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, it's a possessed video." No, no. When you watch Ringu, it's like this is why it's possessed, and this is why it continues, and this is how like the cycle is broken.
Right.
Ringu is just like, oh, this is just spooky, yes, things
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah.
They don't really follow through with the supernatural. They make it a very shallow supernatural thing. And I'd like to go back to Veronica for just a second.
Oh, Veronica, no,
I watched it on
Veronica.
Netflix.
No, that's
Eh.
terrifying. It's based on a true
But
story.
yeah, it's based on a true story. But if you compare Veronica to The Haunting in Connecticut, Veronica, I'm sure, follows the actual events better
Mm-hmm.
than The Haunting in Connecticut because The Haunting in Connecticut follows a sick teenager. He
Yeah.
has cancer, so we are following him through this. And the reason we're seeing spiritual stuff is because he in a sense is dying because he has cancer.
Yeah.
So he that veil is swept aside, so he can see this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What actually happened is he's hospitalized for like 3/5 of these events and does not see any of this stuff happening. All this stuff is supposed to be happening to the mother.
Really?
That's The Haunting in Connecticut.
Oh my gosh.
Now Veronica,
Right, no,
it
Veronica.
no
That shit's
this
scary. That shit's scary. I couldn't finish it. I couldn't. I just couldn't. I
that's
instead decided to watch someone's review of it because it was too terrifying. Nah. And guess what? Guess how it happened? It happened with a Luigi board. The
a
Luigi board.
Luigi.
It's the Luigi board.
Luigi, why
Yeah.
Luigi?
Yeah, it's like they use the Waluigi board, okay? And I'm just like, y'all dumb fucks. That's why I don't mess with that shit. Nah, nah,
You
nah.
don't
Alright, nah,
fuck with
nah.
the Ouija boards.
Don't
Don't
fuck
fuck
with
with the
Luigi
Ouija
board.
board.
No, you don't. Y'all
Nah.
don't need a Luigi board in your life. Don't do that.
Nope. Nope.
No.
Like I used to work retail and my final Halloween there they sent in Ouija boards. And I'm like, I'm not touching this. I don't get paid enough to touch this.
Yep.
Y'all like this is y'all's, and I put it on the ground and I'm like, y'all can do this. And like 6 other employees were like, yeah, no, we're not touching that either. I'm like, nope. I'm with you. But Veronica, because it is like it brings in a lot of like Catholicism as well with it to add depth to this. That's how I feel like Veronica is a far superior horror film than The Haunting in Connecticut.
Veronica's oof, nah. It'll put the fear of Jesus in you though. Be like, all right, Jesus, I need you on my side. Jesus, take the wheel. Because this shit's terrifying.
All
Absolutely
right,
terrifying.
I'll take one of your tires.
Just like, I'm just like, Veronica is honestly amazing. I mean, I
Yes,
couldn't even watch full through. I just don't deal with spirits and shit like that. Nah, I'm good, bruh.
that's fine because it was intense even for me. It was
Yeah.
very, very intense.
And like the
Oh,
scares were good. Like a good film. And the story, good story. Like, and you feel bad. You feel so bad for Veronica.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
it's just so good. Spanish horror is more gritty, I will say, compared
Right.
to American horror. American horror, I feel like for me, you have a blend of everything. You have like the artistic horror, like Hereditary. You have like unique view of horror, like you would was it Get Out. You have
Yes.
or like The Thing, or stuff like that. Like we have a blend, which is good. I mean, and I'm sure other countries also have like blends, but a lot of the remakes, when America tries to make a remake of a foreign film, I will say it
Mm,
cannot capture
mm,
what the foreign film had.
right.
Like
And a
it
lot of it has like cultural things that
very
are very
much.
important to it that don't translate well or translate at all.
Yes, that I will agree with. So if we make a horror thing for just like America, it's amazing. However, when they
Uh,
do like other countries, like remakes of other foreign films, it doesn't look good. It's not as satisfying. The foreign films always win out on the end. It's more
yeah.
spooky. They have like a little oomph to something, which I really appreciate.
A movie I really appreciate that came out a few years ago at this point, that it kind of has like an original take on horror was Oculus that I know you haven't
Oh.
seen, but I really enjoyed it. And
I
they,
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I was about to say, it was very suspenseful. It was, it had supernatural elements to it, but not like unnecessary. Like there wasn't like this demon walking around behind the scenes and that
Yeah,
you'd
yeah.
catch glimpses of and things like that. Now I didn't have any of that. It just like it was extremely psychological. I really loved it. They ended it really good. So it's like if it if it flopped for whatever reason, it wrapped itself up really nicely, but it also left itself open just enough that if they chose to do a sequel to it, it wouldn't make it awkward.
Yeah. The
I think they did.
only I was
Mhm.
gonna say the only thing like I really want to watch Oculus because it has a member of Doctor Who,
It's
one of his companions of the 11th
Amy
Doctor.
Page. Amy
Yes.
Page. She's adorable, and she's so good in this.
Oh yeah.
She is
And she has
so
an American
good.
accent, doesn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, she's a fantastic actress.
As
But there's
as
one scene.
someone who used to be very scared of horror films, I give you and everybody else tips. You watch horror things on the smallest screen that you have, as far away as you physically can, with all the lights on and as many people in the house as possible.
I'm just like, yeah, because like there's one reason I will not watch Oculus, and there's this one scene that I just happened to watch one clip of my girl who chews
Yeah,
into an
girl.
apple, and then apparently it was a illusion from
An optical
whatever.
illusion.
Yeah, no, it
Yes.
was like an illusion from whatever. Spoilers. I don't know if this will consider spoilers, but there was an illusion created by whatever the possessed mirror thing is. And instead of chomping into an apple, she chomps into a light bulb. And her mouth is filled with glass. And I heard the crunch, I heard the glass, I saw the mouth. I'm like, I can't. I can't. That was the most painful thing for me to watch.
Yeah, that did get into a little bit of the body horror, but it
I mean,
surprisingly, even then, this movie doesn't have a lot of gore or blood in it. I mean, it has a little bit of stuff,
yeah.
but it is really, really good. It's
I
really
just,
good.
oh man, I was just like cringed. I was like folding into myself. I'm like, whoa, whoa, heavens. Oh,
That I
that
don't
got me.
blame you because that was like a really intense scene for me
Because
as
the
well.
moment you hear her chomp down, I'm just like, oh gosh,
So,
that really got, oh my God, that got me. That got me
talking
so
about
good.
dumb things we have done with horror, like how you
Yeah, and it was
at
unexpected. Well,
6 years old watched Chucky
yeah, that's true.
literally behind
6 or
your dad's
7.
back.
Yeah, he told me not to. He warned me, but there he goes. I
Well,
didn't heed his warning. I'm dumb.
uh, you're
I was
just
just
so
like, and now I'm just
pretty.
like, oh gosh.
So
I
pretty.
was just rebellious. Just like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm 6. No, I really wish it would have been like, you're gonna be fucking pissing your pants in the middle of the night from just pure fear that your dolls are gonna kill you. No, I
So
was a dumb child.
when I started getting into my horror kick and like really catching up on like horror movies and like getting into the horror genre and things like that, especially the supernatural stuff, I would do very, very dumb things.
Oh
I would
no.
watch things like I remember.
Do you play with Luigi
spec-
boards?
No, I did not.
There you
No,
go.
like I said, hell, fucking no. Um, I would watch horror movies at like 2 a.m.
Hell
when
no.
all the lights were off in the house and everybody was asleep in bed. And I was as close as possible to my TV as
Hell
I
no.
could be. And like I have my cat still lives with my parents. So I had her at the time, she's still around. Um she would jump up on the bed and scare the utter
Yeah, she
fucking
knows what's
piss out
up.
of me.
I was about to say she knows what's up.
Like I would be by myself in the dark in the middle of the night as close as possible to my TV and like you can ask Leak the Punk on Twitter. He's a friend of mine. He would see me like live chat my reactions to horror movies on Twitter
Oh
and
my
cry
god.
like a little bitch.
I just
There
can't
were
do it. No,
several
man.
movies where I paused it. I'm like, girl, I need some fucking Celine Dion. It's like my heart will go on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no. Yeah, no, I'm not that dumb. I can't do that. I
I
just like
was
I
a
said.
dumb teenager, young
I
adult. I
nope,
did some
nope.
dumb
That's a big note
stuff.
for me, dog. I can't do that.
Like middle
I
of the
can.
day, has to be sunny out. As many people in the house as fucking possible.
Right, right. If we can laugh at it, then it's easier for me. You know, to be
Yes,
around people and laugh at a horror movie or game or anything. It's one.
emotional support.
Yeah, because like I can't play horror games. I love watching other people play horror games because like
Yes.
we'll laugh at it. It's fun. Um, but yeah, actually we gotta wrap this up. It's already been an hour and a half. So, do you want to have any closing statements? We didn't even talk about fucking horror anime, which I actually love horror
I've
anime.
ever actually really watched horror anime. And then
So
again, I don't watch too much anime in general. I
yeah,
would much rather read it personally.
yeah, yeah. I will say before I close, if you're looking for a good horror anime, Higurashi is a very good horror, which also has a good story that, like a whodunit kind of story. Very amazing. Very intense, and there is gore. So, like, it's good shit though. They're actually remaking it. And Higurashi started off as a visual novel, which was very interesting to see.
Yeah.
That they adapted into a manga and of course anime. Very amazing. And then they also have so they have the When the Cicadas Cry, and they also have When the Seagulls Cry, which is spin-off, or not really a spin-off, but like a it's in the same universe as Higurashi, and it's also good. Like very good, and it involves people dying in this mansion. It's amazing. Instead of like everyone dying in a town, it's just amazing. If you want a good horror anime that's like super 2000s aesthetic with the big old eyes and everything, that's the kind of, and it's gory. I will say it is gory, but in a good way, if that is a thing.
I forgot to bring up a horror. My first real introduction to like internet horror. It circled around about 10 years ago, probably about 8 years ago at this point, where I know it circled, like it passed around through my friends and stuff, where it was this, it could be Korean, it could be Japanese, like webtoon or webcomic. And you would scroll up through it.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I didn't get that because god damn that, like, not animation but not animation sequence.
Because it programmed so that it will scroll on its own. Shit, that thing's scary. Oh my god, that got me so good.
I want to say I remember there being audio to that as well.
Yep. It's a clicking sound. I'm traumatized, so I remembered it and I threw my phone. I was like, no. I threw my phone. It was terrifying. And yet it was genius. But it was terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, it was terrifying. And you don't capture, I mean, well, I guess you could when you read it on a computer, but I read it through my phone and that shit was terrifying. Oh my gosh. So
when it came out, I didn't have that option for my phone. My phone was not a smartphone. So it did have that action on at least laptops.
Yes. That shit was terrifying. So as a closing, what horror film or game would you recommend to watch? If you're like just in general, what is one horror film you would like, okay, you need to watch this?
I kind of have two. One is Oculus that we talked about, and the other was Insidious, which we did not get a chance to talk about. Or is it The Conjuring? No, it's Insidious. Insidious is the start of the Insidious franchise, and it is so good. It's where The Conjuring is a spin-off of it. Annabelle is a spin-off of it. The Nun is a spin-off of it. Insidious is the best by far.
That's The Conjuring.
Is it The Conjuring?
Yes.
Are you sure it's The Conjuring?
Yes, it is. It's The Conjuring that holds the Nun, La Llorona, Annabelle. That's the Conjuring universe.
But Insidious was the first one.
No, Insidious is the one with the red demon.
Yeah.
Those are the no. The Conjuring. Hold on, we're gonna look this up.
I could be getting it mixed up because it's the same director, though.
Hold on. Insidious. Yeah, Insidious only has 3 films, and there is no spin-off of those films. It is directed by James Wan, and then The Conjuring. And the reason why I know this,
okay, that's why it got me confused. It's James Wan directs both of them, and he's really good at it. But Insidious is amazing.
Yeah, so Insidious actually has the 3 films to its own, and then the Conjuring universe deals with the
they start to get a little tropey.
Yeah, the demonologists that that are based loosely on a true story, right?
Yeah, oh shit, what are they?
It's the Lorraine and Ed Warren, the Warren people.
Here we go.
So yeah, that's The Conjuring. And the reason why I know this is because I recently looked up a podcast where they talked about the Conjuring universe.
Yes.
So I'm just like, that's why I'm like, Insidious is its own, but it is, you're absolutely right, directed by the same people.
And it got me a little confused, but the first Insidious movie, I haven't seen the other 2, but the first Insidious movie is by far the best that director has done. Like everything else in the Conjuring universe, the Conjuring was all right, but anything past that gets really tropey.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people were upset with the Conjuring universe being taken in the direction that it's going. For sure. But yeah, Insidious, I've never seen it. I have never seen Oculus either. I need to see
I
these things.
will.
I
We
can't
can
watch it by
watch it
myself.
together.
I was about to say
We
I can't
can-
watch it by myself. It's so scary.
But we're not watching it on a TV. We're watching it on like
Oh.
a little teeny tiny like computer monitor.
I will say too, if there's that glass scene, I'm gonna have to turn away. I've seen it once.
Nope.
I don't need to see it again. I'm
That's
turning
fine.
away. I was like, I
That's
saw it
fine.
once. Nah, okay, good.
Nah, it's good. I
So-
used to do that with my friend when we went to movies. I'm just like, you're too pure for this. We're gonna just stick my hand over your eyes.
So I was like, the movie that that I ask you guys to watch is The Thing. I will say The Thing is very good.
The
It's so good.
1982 one,
Yes,
correct?
1982. Not the most well, the most recent is fine, but no, the 1982 is the one I'm poking
Yeah,
at.
remakes are iffy.
Yes.
It's the originals that you really want to get into.
Yes. So The Thing was very I like it. I do. And then I also there was one, if you're doing one, I'll do another.
Yeah.
If you want to play a good horror game, may I suggest The Evil Within? I will suggest The Evil Within. Or any of the silent... Oh, okay. So The Evil Within, which is very interesting, has a very good story, terrifying monsters, and like fast-paced. Like you can still defend yourself and whatever, but it's very fast-paced. It actually plays off like a horror movie to me. And then I would also recommend Silent Hill 2 or Silent Hill 3.
Thought we were getting
Or-
only to what? Girl, come
or
on.
even Silent Hill 4, because Silent Hill 4 is a standalone game. It involves an apartment. But
Wait, is that
Silent
the one that you walk through the hallway repeatedly?
Oh,
or is
no,
that
that's
another?
PT, honey.
Okay.
And
Girl,
PT was a Silent Hill fucking game that will never get any more.
Okay. I'm sorry. We're trying to wrap up. I'm sorry, Racy. I'm sorry. All right, guys. This is a bowl of Ricey. She has a Twitch stream. She has a Twitter. She's on the Instagram. She has she has a cosplay page, like Petros cosplay, which is kissy in Japanese.
I was about to say
In China.
and Spanish.
I was gonna get there eventually.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Japanese, Chinese, Korean. I was good, girl. I'm so tired.
Seriously, I'm just like, oh, I can talk about Silent Hill. No, I can't. It's heartbreaking. Oh, okay, fine.
We can do a podcast about Silent Hill one day if you'd like.
Yes, I love that. I often go to like panel. I love Silent Hill. I'm terrified to play it. I played it by myself, the second game by myself, and I've seen the playthroughs several times, and it's still terrifying to me. Oh, Silent Hill. But anyway, we're okay. So you can find me where she said, Twitter, especially at A Bowl of Ricey. I also have a Twitch, A Bowl of Ricey. And where can they find you?
A Twitter, at Miki Ri, ABMIKIRII. I also have an Instagram. Bro, I haven't been on Instagram in like 3 years, but I'm there if you want to find me.
I haven't done a cosplay or a new photo in a while. I need to get back on that shit.
I also have a Twitch, but I haven't streamed yet. That's it. As a heads up, Ricey will not be here next week.
Oh yes, I will not. However, we might still continue the show. Actually, she might still continue the show with a special guest. And I'm sure you and
I will.
Special
Maybe
guest
I
will.
won't.
Yeah, maybe. And it's
Maybe.
up in the air. It's a surprise. It's a surprise.
It's a jump scare.
Yeah. So look out for that. It'll still be at the same time, I'm assuming. Yeah?
Yeah. if we can get the special guest a week at that time.
Yes. So if you need any updates, just look us up at our Twitter, our own
Sure.
Twitter. What's your opinion? Cast, is it?
Yeah. Well, hang on. I got
Oh,
it.
it's What's Your Pin 10. That's where you can find us.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where you can find us. And we will post any updates that we have on that channel or on that Twitter.
I was about to say if we remember to post it, because I know we didn't post anything this week, and I'm like, oh yeah, we might have forgotten
I
to
was dead
post.
this week, man. I ain't gonna lie. I was so
This
dead
week
this
has
week.
been just weird.
It has. Oh my gosh. Just a weird time. But anyway, any news or anything, any updates, we will post over there. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for coming in and listening. I hope you enjoyed our very interesting animated way of speaking of horror. Because, like, again, I love horror and I also hate horror.
Oof.
Ugh, it's complicated. It's just so complicated. But yeah, you guys have a good weekend and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye.